that Ripple, they're going to use XRP for this to make everyone whole. When you see these things rally, you do not get greedy. And yes, I believe the price will still be set. And then from there, it can only move upwards towards an infinite price.
So that was the promo for tonight's podcast episode that's coming out with Black Swan Capitalist. We talk about some crazy stuff, I'm telling you, really crazy. It's going to be a great interview to watch. So make sure you click subscribe and have the notification bell on, because tonight the Black Swan Capitalist podcast will go live. I'm going to be there in the live premiere. Do not miss it. Let's get into this episode. So Polysign are undergoing quite a change. They have been put up for auction. This is such a crazy turn of events. But this video is supposed to be just about acknowledging all the reasons why this might be happening. I'm just going to talk freely about it all as I walk around. And let's get into the first one, because I think there's been some interesting theories put around on let's say, even Twitter, basically talking about the underlying reasons why this all might be happening for Polysign in the first place. One thing I want to talk about is really the reputation of David Schwartz. If you don't know how David Schwartz plays into all of this, well, he is a co-founder of Polysign and also touted as the most impressive, the best cryptographer in the entire world. I find it surprising that his reputation would be allowed to be out there, to be tarnished, considering his role in the new financial system, in history, really, of this new financial system. I'm finding it really hard to think about why Brad Garlinghouse, why Ripple would allow David Schwartz's reputation to be on fire like this. This doesn't make any sense. Because if he is supposed to be one of the creators, or the creator of the XRPL, and the XRPL plays such an important role in the financial future, seems weird that he would be associated with something that kind of failed and lost people money. So what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm hoping that means that this other conspiracy comes into play, and many people have talked about this online, that because they don't want David Schwartz's reputation to be tarnished significantly, Ripple will come in and make Polysign whole, aka buy Polysign. Now, we know that David Schwartz has said Polysign just isn't a good fit for Ripple. We know that Ripple bought Metaco. Like I understand all this, but also understand that Ripple have been going around making companies whole. I don't know if people notice, but when a company's really struggling, and there's been many examples of this that I can't think of right now, classic, where they've defaulted on debt and Ripple have just come in and saved them from the debt. Why are they doing that? There's such an interesting position for Ripple to put themselves in. And why would this Polysign deal be any different? Why wouldn't Ripple come in and save the day here? Now, that's one theory. There are many theories. Another theory I thought was quite interesting was actually, I think Crypto Airy posted it, but she said she got it from somewhere else, I think, is the idea that this is all kind of a deliberate action so that Polysign's share prices can be basically bought up for nothing. Just then for the company to kind of come back. So it almost allows Polysign, because they defaulted on their debt, to reduce the value of the company, meaning the debt was less. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but it would actually mitigate the issue that they've caused with the debt that has defaulted them. And so that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And then the next thought process I want to put out there is about the people who were invested in pre-IPO Polysign shares. I mean, I've got a really big chunk of money in Polysign pre-IPO, as many people do. And really, I want to go through the outcomes that I see for investors that have been involved in this way. I think there's three, there may be four options that could be happening here. One of those options is that Ripple makes them whole, the share price is kind of basically resumed, and let's say even Ripple acquire Polysign. At that point, with that acquisition and that merger, then everyone who basically owns Polysign shares will automatically now just own the equal representation in Ripple shares, because it's been acquired, and I think that's how these shares move. That is obviously the best outcome. That's the best thing that could happen in this whole situation. I think what most people are hoping for at this point is that the private equity side, the pre-IPO shares that people have got, aren't really affected, and people are able to kind of sell those off at the price that they got them for, maybe even a little bit less. Now, this is where, if you were involved in pre-IPO raises, especially the ones at scale that I've mentioned on this channel before, you got access to these shares, pre-IPO shares, significantly less than you will find on a typical website like Link2. And so I'm not saying that's good or anything. I'm just saying like it reduces the potential loss versus if you had just gone through, a normal platform to do that. But I think most people are just hoping that their assets, or at least the dollar value of their assets, gets returned and they can kind of put that money elsewhere, somewhere maybe more secure. I think this highlights though how crazy this market is, the cryptocurrency and blockchain market, is that the most solid looking projects even have the potential to collapse like this. It's a learning opportunity. It's a tough lesson to learn, of course. But then the other option here, which I wouldn't say is ideal, but at least it's not too bad, was one that I saw again online, where you could have the price of these shares go plummeting down. Basically, you almost lose all of the value of your pre-IPO shares, but they open up again at a significantly cheaper price, allowing people an extra opportunity to buy into Polysign, but at a way lower price. Be interesting to see which one of these it could be. It could also be, and this is the most worrying truth, it could also be that Polysign is done. That would be so disappointing. It could be that David Schwartz is reflected badly here. It could be that is irrecoverable. It could be that it reflects on Ripple poorly. I don't know. We really don't know. What I want to urge everyone to do here, though, is just sit back and watch to see how things develop. I know everyone was jumping to conclusions about whether it was real or whether it wasn't, the impact on pre-IPO shares. No one knows. Absolutely no one knows. An interesting fact here is that I was actually shown this article, this whole news, 24 hours before anyone mentioned it on Twitter. And I say that to say, I deliberately do not jump into news. Because I would have been the first to talk about it. I would have got loads of views. Because I had that information first. I had it. But I chose to sit back and see how this plays out. And obviously other people get those views and whatnot, but it perpetuates really FOMO-esque behavior. And that's just not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to sit back. I'm almost trying to educate people as kind of part of this mission now, is to kind of show people that, emotions really run havoc and play havoc with your investments. If you can just see some news, sit back and think, let's see how this plays out, I think you're just in a better position overall, rather than the person who goes, oh my goodness, it's all over, Ripple's going down because of this Polysign thing. No, there's irrational thoughts that you can have. Just sit back and watch. I know lots of people don't like watching all the time, like watching everything that's going on. And that's exactly why I created the newsletter, which is a weekly newsletter that summarizes basically 5 of the major pieces of news in the last week, so you don't have to pay attention to it all the time. That Polysign thing was in the newsletter. It's absolutely free. I just don't think there's no reason not to get access to the newsletter. It just kind of gives my thoughts and updates people on the news, so you don't have to. The link is in the description if you want to join there. Anyway, that's all for this one. Stay emotionless, please. Stay emotionless. Let's see how this plays out, and I'll see you in the next one.
That Ripple, they're going to use XRP for this to make everyone whole. When you see these things rally, you do not get greedy. And yes, I believe the price will still be set. And then from there, it can only move upwards towards an infinite price.